Well, happy Monday. Welcome to our last little week of lessons here. Your grades will be officially going in tomorrow. So if you're following along on the grade book, the Synergy thing, Parent View, whatever that is, I think they'll show up tomorrow, maybe. If not, I don't know. But either way, look at your old report card and whatever that grade was. There's your grade. Today, as you're watching this today, I'm down at the schools dropping off all of your materials that you left into baggies. So if I have your shoulder rest, if I have your method book, that's going into the bag, and it'll be out in the hallway in front of your teachers' rooms, classroom teachers' rooms, whenever they start that. I think that's beginning next week. But I'm going down to drop it off today. The rest of your teachers are going down earlier this week, and or later this week. And then I think by the end of the week or early next week, I think that's when they let you go down and get it. You'd have to check with them, or read whatever things has already been out. I don't read those things, so good luck. But yeah, let's get started with today. No piano today. We're doing part 3 of the Chrome Music Lab project. This isn't super important for this whole fourth quarter of 2019-2020 thing. But if you want to do it anyway. But this is really for starting next year, when this becomes a bigger, more important project for actually during school. We'll still have this video to watch. But I'm going to add one extra bonus. So for this week's third thing on the assignments tab, the last of it is to do this one. And again, I haven't decided what the bonus is. Maybe by the end of this video, the editor will have something to say about that, and you'll know what to get. It'll also be in the assignments tabs. So yeah, stick around and check out that. But here's what you'll need. We're going to be actually writing music today. So you'll need the computer that we're doing the Chrome Music Lab stuff on. We're going to go from that to paper. So you'll need a pencil. You can use a pen too if you don't make any mistakes, but pencil erases, that's cool. You'll need a ruler. This is a 16-inch ruler. You don't need a 16. It doesn't even need to be a ruler. We just need to draw straight lines is pretty much it. You want to draw straight lines. And you'll need your staff paper. If you were watching on Friday, I told you about how you could go to a music store and actually buy staff paper, but you don't need to do that. You can go to Google and Google blank music papers, blank staff paper, and stuff will come up. Cool? So those are the 3 things you need: pencil, ruler, paper, and then let's check out some Chrome Music Lab stuff. Here we are in the settings of Chrome Music Lab, and I want to show you how I've got it set up. Length, the song I've picked is only 8 measures long, so I have 8 bars. It's going to be in a major scale, D major scale. We'll set that up to 3 octaves, so we've got the biggest range we've got. But over here, the beats per bar and the split beats into, I'm using something new that I haven't really showed you before. We are going to look at number 120 out of the 6th grade book. And this piece, Jolly Good Fellow, is in a 6/8 time signature. Look through the first couple measures there, and when you see the 8th notes, See how some of those are grouped into groups of 3? We've usually seen eighth notes either standing on their own or in groups of 2. Usually not in groups of 3 like that. And when we have, if you were here last year when we played Star Wars, we played triplets. There were some eighth notes that were grouped into 3s, but those are a different kind of thing. These are just regular eighth notes that are grouped by 3s. And I'm going to show you why they do that here in Chrome Music Lab. Beats per bar is how many beats are in each measure. In 6/8, there's actually not 6 or 8 beats in that measure. Most of the time, sometimes there's 6 beats, but most of the time it's divided down into groups of 2. So instead of counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that might be with 3 beats, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 beats. But in 6/8, we generally feel it in 2, which means we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First beat and second beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 2 beats per measure, even though there's not even a 2 in the time signature. So we're going to split those beats into 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? It's always groups, it's groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when we leave the settings and we see what this looks like, we've got He's a Jolly Good Fellow. This is another one where there's a pickup note at the beginning. So that pickup note is actually all the way at the end of my song. There's the first note. Cool. So look at how our beats are set up now. We've got the light measure, dark measure, light measure, dark measure. And there's only 2 beats per measure. Whoa, I forgot that's a touch screen. Dark measure, 2 beats. Light measure, 2 beats. Dark measure. And then within those beats, there's only 1, 2, 3 squares across each beat. So we're 6/8. That's what that's gonna look like. And just like that, I've added a harmony line to the top of it. And actually, I didn't put a last note on this one. I think we wanna, let's see what works best. Do we stick with a purple? Or do we wanna go to orange? Let's see how it sounds. This is purple. If we leave it as purple, they're going A, D at the beginning. And I think that's a good way to do it. That works. Cool. So I want to take these notes, the top line of notes, and I want to write them down by hand, one of these things, onto some staff paper. Let's show you how to do that. All right, so we got our ruler, our pencil, and our staff paper. Up here at the top, we're gonna write the title of our piece.
This is Jolly Good Fellow.
And I like to underline it. I don't know why.
And I just wrote that right on top of that top stack. That top stack on this paper is so high up there that it's not going to get used anymore. If you downloaded something off the internet, there might just be room up there for you to write it down on staff.
Over here on this side, if you've noticed on your music, there's always the instrument part, right? So I'm going to write this out for violin because it's easiest for me. And I guess this would be the violin 2, because violin 1 usually plays the melody, but this is higher notes, and violin 1 usually plays higher notes. So, I don't know, whatever. It's up to you, the composer. Over here is the composer's name, so you would write your name.
I'm going to skip this next line, because if I started to write notes in there, it would go up into my name.
So I'm going to put my first line of music here. And since it's violin, I know I'm going to make a treble clef. There's all kinds of ways we can be super careful about making the perfect treble clef. But basically, start with a dot down at the bottom. And you're going to go straight up. And you're going to draw an S. And you're going to kind of wrap around the G. So you're down here below the staff, draw a line up, draw an S, and wrap around the G. If you're in bass clef, if you're drawing cello, you start on the 4th line with a little dot there. And you go up a little bit, and it's like a backwards C. It just comes straight down that way. And then there's 2 dots right on those spaces. And those all those dots either on or they surround that 4th line F. Remember how this one wrapped around the G? That's a treble clef. Some people call it a G clef. And then the bass clef, some people call it an F clef because it's on that F line. It kind of identifies the line. If you're a viola player, you have the alto clef here, which there's a lot of, it's the fancier looking clef, probably not the exact perfect way. I draw a line, and then I draw kind of like a K. And the legs of these K are pointing, and they meet right at that middle line. Cellos, you might recall that tenor clef we talked about in one of last week's videos. It's the same thing. It's the K, but that middle line, or the middle section, the 2 legs, pointed up here to your F, what's normally an F, but then it marks that that's a C. So where violas, we usually call this alto clef. Another name for it is the C clef, because it marks where your C is. And I gotta be real with you, violas. We normally make fun of you guys for being the only instruments that use that weird C clef. But it makes more sense than any of these other clefs because you can move it around. If I want to make up a new instrument and this instrument has a range that's like really high, so violin plays really high notes. Let's say the violin had another string above its E string, maybe had a B string, and that instrument would play super high. You could use a C clef down here at the bottom of the staff to mark that that's your C. And now instead of reading violin notes that are way up here, and you have to count all those ledger lines, you could just learn the CLEF with it down at the bottom. That might make it easier. Oh, wow, that's a tangent.
Okay, let's erase all of this because we're not talking about clefs. We're talking about writing music. For the clef.
All right, let's pretend like you can't see all my eraser marks, and we're gonna move from there. Up at the corner of the screen, I have put the first little chunk of melody we need to write. Remember, we're in 6/8, so we want to make sure that we draw a 6 and an 8, and that's the thing that time signature comes right after the clef. So we've got our clef, we've got our time, and we also need to put our key signature. We're in the key of D, so we want to use our F sharps and our C sharps. Now we're all set to write our first note, which actually isn't this first note, because we want to put that A that was the pickup note at the very end, that last purple one we added. So since a purple square I have figured out is A, when I see the purple square there, I put it right where it needs to go. And that was the higher A. So actually we want to be up an octave, which means we need to put a ledger line. When you write your ledger lines, or you draw your ledger lines, that line needs to be equally as far away from the top line as all of these other lines are. If you want to be really picky, you can take your ruler and make sure that each of those lines are exactly, 1/32 of an inch apart or something. Whatever it is. I don't know. But it's at the top, so we draw an A. Now we gotta talk about stem directions here. If our first note is a really high note up there, which way does the stem go? Does the stem go up, or does the stem go down? Anytime a note is up high, above the middle line here, if it's above that middle line B, you want the stem to go down, because you want to try to keep everything as centered on the staff as much as it can. When the stem goes down, we put it on the left side, and we want that stem to be as straight as possible. So we have a ruler. We also need to know how long the stem is gonna be. Generally, especially if you've got just one note and it's an A, you want to take that A stem down to where the A would be if it was an octave lower. So the A is normally on that second space. So we're going to take our stem down right to the middle of that second space. Check out how I use this ruler. Pencil on the paper first. Slide the ruler over. And draw straight down to there. But hold up, that's a quarter note. We need to make it an eighth note. Eighth notes has that little flag. This one's all alone, so it needs the flag. I'm not going to be picky about it. I usually just draw like one little flag. And it's that simple. Notice when the stem goes down, the flag goes that way. When the stem goes up, the flag goes that way. So the wind is always blowing left to right. It's always blowing your flags that way. All right, from there, we came down to a D, but there's a bar line in between that pickup note and the next one. So I'm gonna draw, again, as straight as I can, a bar line straight down there. We have a quarter note and then an eighth note on a D just below that A. We went purple down to orange, A down to D. By the way, something you might want to do is write what color of the notes are. So maybe you write up here at the top, purple equals A, orange equals D. And then you can just keep, you can keep track of it that way. I'm gonna erase it because I'm picky. I want it to be kind of clean. Anyway, all right, so we jump down to this D for a quarter note and an eighth note. Imagine if we had 3 eighth notes. How long would that be? There might be a beat 1, 2, 3, and then the next measure. Garbage truck is here. Alright, so anyway, there's going to be the length of our measure. If there's 3 notes there. 1, 2, 3. So this is the quarter note that takes up 2 eighth notes, right? I shouldn't have put that bar line there yet. That's only half of our measure. So 1, 2, 3, it would be 4, 5, 6. And then a bar line. And only the beats. If we split the beat up, it's kind of like we have first beat, second beat, right? So we got a quarter note. It takes up 2 of those eighth notes, and then an eighth note. And those are both on the D because they're both orange. How far do we want to bring this? And we do want to bring it down, right? We want to bring it the stem down because it's a higher note. We want to bring it down to where the D is, right? And that's for both of them because they're both Ds. And we want to stay on the left side of the note. Bring it down to where the D was. That last one was very clear. And one of these needs a flag. The eighth note over here, right? Wind is blowing that way, so the flag goes over there. So we got A, D, D. I think in the music there's a hooked bowing there. So we're gonna get rid of our beat markers that we laid out for us. And we're going to turn that into a hooked bowing by putting a slur and staccato right on top there. A, D, D. The second half of that beat, we've got orange, yellow, orange.
D, E, D. And then we can get rid of those neat little beat markers.
All of those are going to come down. And they're all going to be barred together as eighth notes. But we don't want the bar to go up and down. We want to go from the first one to the last one. So D to a D. We just bring those down the same way.
And then we connect them. Am I still in the shot here? Yeah, okay.
And then we connect those with a little bit of a thicker line. So I'm going to kind of double up that line and color it in. And then to connect that E, we just bring it straight down to where the other line was. So when I first told you that the stem needs to be the length of an octave from the top one down, that's not always completely true, because here this E stem is slightly longer than an octave because it needs to connect to those. When your eye looks at this, it looks at the big picture and it sees that we're doing a bunch of D's. And it sees down here, these are also all level because we're just doing a bunch of D's. The only little thing that you should notice is that up here it goes higher. So when you're looking at this really quickly, because it's typed out or written out really clearly, it makes it easier to read. I'm gonna do the next measure not so clearly, all right?
I'm going to not use the straight edge. I'm not going to worry about stem directions. I'm not going to worry about keeping things straight and the right length. And you're going to see how much harder it is to read. So here's the next measure. It goes up to the yellow notes, lots of E's. And we've got a quarter note E with an eighth note E. And those are kind of those things. It goes E, F, E. And those are eighth notes. And then that's the end of the measure, right? So yeah, E, 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 F, E. I didn't connect those eighth notes up there.
See how confusing that is when we don't have the stem in the right direction? See how it seems weird that the stems jumped up to the top? Because they went just a little bit higher and then the stems switched. So that's not right. It looks funky. There wasn't enough room for the hooked bowing in the right place there. Those need to be up top. I've fixed my stem directions now. And when you look here, you're going E, F, E. It's basically straight across. But look down here. Since I made this stem too long, now it looks like those notes are going up. But they're not. They're staying the same. E, F, back to E. But we still see that incline there. That's going to mess up our brains when we're trying to read these notes really quickly. So we got to be extra, extra careful.
Let me fix this up so it looks nice. Since I've already got a measure there, I want to try to leave that about the same. That measure's about 3 inches, so I'll make another measure about 3 inches. And I'm going to do all the note heads first. We had an E. Oh, I should mark off that there's 6 beats in the measure. So we kind of got them evenly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. And it's on E. And it was an eighth note E. E. F. E. I'm going to erase my beat markers now that I got my note heads written out in the right spot. All of these stems are still coming down. Down to the low E. So now you can see by looking at the stem too, that this note and this measure is higher than that last note and the last measure. That wasn't very good. My lid slipped at the last minute. Notice I'm being darker now. Now that I'm trying to write in my final notes and everything, I'm being a little darker with the pencil. I think I need more. Whoa, don't. This pencil is just a piece of junk. So here, that F needs to be connected to that E. I don't want to draw the line yet. I mean, I could, because I know it's going to get under the E line, so I can draw it here. Why not? And then again, use your straight edge to make sure that those eighth notes are actually perfectly straight across. Because you don't want to be tricking your brain into thinking that those notes are going up. Because they're not, they're going straight. I got to turn that into an eighth note too, right? And add its hooked bowing. And that's done.
So here's why stem directions are important, and I'm not just being picky. In this first example here, all of these stem directions are the same way. And it's not too bad. You can see the overall shape of that melody pretty well. It's gonna be difficult going really quickly though to see really where that note is going to. That's a really big jump. From here too, at the end. Your eyes look at this as one big thing. So they're looking, your eyes see it from the bottom of the lowest note to the top of the highest note. Your eyes have to look at all of that at once. Over here, from the top of the note to the bottom of the note, your eyes have to focus over there. You can still see the shape, but it's harder for your eyes to pick up on that. Here, I've mixed the stem directions up and made it even worse. We can no longer even really see as clear of a shape when we look at it. Our eyes are looking all the way from the bottom down here, all the way up to the top up here. That space is more than that space. So your eyes have to work harder to see all of the stuff. Check this out. Going from this low D up to that high E, and I've got a ruler here. Let's check it out. Almost 1.5 inches. We'll call it 1.5 inches that your eyes have to focus on that line there. Where down here at the bottom, I've mixed it up, but I've mixed it up the right way. The notes that are below the middle line, their stems are going up. The notes that are above the middle line, the stems are coming down. So we can see a whole group of notes here. This entire line is coming down. Boom. That note's below the middle line. But since it's connected to that note that's higher up, and it's part of this bigger idea here, everything's coming down, then we're allowed to change that. And we're allowed to say it makes more sense if that stem comes down. In a computer program, it would automatically put that stem up. And one thing that a music editor might do is be like, hey, let's change that. And the editor will go in and change it. But it'll automatically probably put that the wrong way if you did it on a computer. Over here was our big problem, right? We had 1.5 inches of stuff that our eyes had to look at. Now that we've got these going in the right way, D, F, D, since that's flat, you can tell it goes back to D already. D, F, D. It's not nearly as far for our eyes to travel up to the E, D, E. Bottom of this note to the top of this note, you're at about 3/4 of an inch, which is half of that. So this is twice as good as that. Same thing when we get here to the end. All of those notes are going down, but we can see that that line's going up. And then it's not that far of a jump. We can see that it ends pretty clearly on a D. Really, our eyes might even look at that part of the note to see that that's the D, rather than looking down here. You might not have even thought your eyes do that because you're used to only seeing good written music. Every now and then you're going to come across a piece of music that's written really poorly and it's going to be really hard to read. And sorry. So there it is. Maybe not the most fun and exciting lesson today. Sorry. It's a penmanship lesson. I don't know if even I can make writing and like penmanship fun. But yeah, so here's the goal. Now that you know how to write music, the part that you wrote in Chrome Music Lab, write it out by hand. Do the best you can do. I'm trying to think of how this works. When I was in college, what we did was we would take the music that we wrote and we would give it to our friends to edit. And we would say, here's this, I will give you a nickel for every mistake you find. And we got really, really picky because we would switch, right? So like I'd give mine to Joe, Joe would give his to me. And for every mistake that I found in Joe's music, he would owe me a nickel. So I'm going to be extra picky, right? I'm going to be like, dude, I know that's a D and the line's supposed to go all the way up to the next D and you only made it to a C. Yeah, you owe me 5 cents. And we'd both be super picky. It would work out about even. But I think, how can we do this with Oregon Trail? If you turn it into me, no, that's not going to work. How about this? This assignment is worth, what have they been worth? $100? Or 200, 400 even, if they're really. I'm gonna make this a $200 assignment. So snap a picture or scan or however you turn in, like your those of you that are writing out your journals. Snap a picture of it, get it as clear as possible so I can like really see it. If you write out the entire melody that you have written in Chrome Music Lab, you get $200. But I'm gonna take away $1 for every mistake I find. I have no idea if that's, we'll see. 2 of you might do it anyway. But let's do it. Turn that in. So part 3 of Chrome Music Lab is you have taken the piece from the method book and you've added your own part to it. Now you're writing out that part in standard musical notation for $200. Every mistake I find, you lose $1. So you can make 100 mistakes and still get $100. Go with it. That sounds good to me. Have a good Monday. We'll be back with some playing tomorrow and Wednesday. Still don't really know what the plan is for Thursday, but Friday is going to be our last end of the year update. I'll award the winner. So if you're going to do this, you need to have this turned in before Thursday. Cool? You got 3 days to do this. You got to do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for up to $200. I can't take it after Thursday because I'm filming the video, and the winner will be announced. Cool? So that's like your last thing to try to jump up in places. I think that covers it. This video is way too long and it's not even that exciting of a video. I'm sorry. Have a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.